Good morning, friends. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kiara. Feel free to call me Q, and welcome to my garden. So today's March 23rd, and it is the first official week of spring. And so I had this idea last night that it'd be really cool to actually do spring tours and summer tours and fall tours and kind of go by the seasons of what's going on here in our garden in California in Zone 9B. And so I wanted to kind of show you around and show you what's going on right now. One thing, this will probably look different next year because next year we will have had our full garden in, and so we'll do more of a more fall and more winter stuff. So this year our garden is a little more empty than it is in usual years, but it's because we're still building it out. We moved to this house middle of last year, and so we built part of our garden and we've been working on finishing the other part of it, and we're still working on it, so we still have beds to fill and all that kind of stuff, but a lot has gone on as far as like little projects in the last week or so, and so I wanted to kind of share those and just show what we've been kind of tinkering with. So since I am right in front of this green stalk, I'll show you what's going on the green stalks first. So we actually have two green stalks. They're both the same size. It's the kind of, I think it's the original. And I switched the location of each one. So this is our strawberry green stalk. And then across, which I'll show you too, is the one where I put a bunch of kind of like really early spring stuff, things that like the cooler weather, and I just wanted to see if we could get anything out of it and keep it in the green stalk. So anyway, let me show you the strawberry one because we do have some updates here that are pretty exciting. All right, so here's our strawberry green stalk. I don't have anything in the top. I was thinking about putting some flowers or something at the top. I just haven't gotten around to it. But these are strawberries that we actually brought with us from our old house, and they have basically been, thriving on neglect for the past couple years. But I planted them in this just to see if we would be able to get anything off of them, and they're actually doing pretty well. So a lot of them are getting new leaves, and then, oh, here we go. And then the really fun part is they're starting to get flower buds, and we're gonna get strawberries. So I've seen a couple of these little strawberry buds, and they have like new leaf growth and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy with how that's going. Oh, here's another little flower right there. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I'm happy that oh wow, look at that. There's all sorts of stuff going on this one. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with the fact that these have done so well since I transplanted them, and I've never done this before, so I'm really excited about that. Now over here is our second green stalk. This is the one that I put kind of like cool weather stuff in, so it's a lot of lettuce and spinach and purple bok choy, and I planted this, I want to say 2 weeks ago. I have to look it up and see, and I'll put the actual day that I planted this up on the screen. But I planted this a couple weeks ago, and there's a lot of stuff sprouting up in here. So you will also notice that stuff like this, it's looking pretty leggy, which I actually kind of expected. I think the reason so many of these look leggy and they're kind of just long and spindly looking is because we've had a lot of days with rain since I planted this, and it is under our patio. So I put them out where they get a little bit of sunshine every day, but we've had a lot of rain, and more than that, we've had a lot of really high winds. And so I've actually moved these into a back corner so that they're protected by the house, and so they don't just blow over in the crazy wind that we've been getting. And everything kind of sprouted in that time where I had them kind of tucked away. So they're still fine. They still look really healthy and everything. They're just a little long, but that's okay. You can see there, it's a little long. But I think they're all going to do really well. And we only have, a couple days here and there left of rain. It looks like we're still getting a few days where we get the high wind warnings, but it's not as bad as it was. And so I think that everything here is going to pull through just fine. I'm really happy with this. This is the first time we've ever had green stalks. This is the first time we've ever set them up, first time we've ever used them. And I didn't know that this much stuff would actually sprout in them. And I'm learning how to water correctly, especially, you know, from seeds and stuff like that with how the watering system works. So yeah, so far I'm a huge fan of these green stalks. I've seen so many other people use them and have them, and I thought the things that they do with them are just so cool and creative. And so I'm excited to see what this looks like in a couple months. Next thing I want to show you is this little herb bed we have right off the house, and it's doing really well. I love how this is filled out. All of these green onions are from ones we bought from the store, and we used them and then just like re-sprouted them, and you can see they're crazy long. We got a couple more over here, which is great. We bought this rosemary start from a nursery. At our old house, we had huge rosemary plants, but we kept forgetting to get cuttings. So we just bought this one, and it's doing pretty well. It might be getting a little too much water compared to everything else, but that's okay. Over here, we have a ton of cilantro, which has been really good. We actually have been eating this, you can't even tell. And so we are saving it up for cilantro rice, I think is what we're going to do next, which I love. And then under here, let me see if I can find it. I think that right here is a chamomile plant that I'm sure I put that seed down there. I just don't remember when I did, but I'm really happy to see it. You can see the sage is doing pretty well. It got some damage from the cold nights, but for the most part, it looks fine. We can just take these leaves off and it should be good. I think these might be calendula flowers that I planted. I don't really know. And pretty sure this is thyme. Yeah. And so it's really happy too. So everything in this bed is doing really well. These two pots, these are the soil contamination tests that we did. And so far, both of them are doing good. This is I'm happy to see that the germination is pretty even in both of them. They have about the same, and they started germinating around the same time. And so I'm going to give it a little bit more time, probably another week or so, for these plants to fully open up so that we can really see if they get sick or not. Now I am between our peach tree and our apricot tree. So the apricot tree has started having its leaves come out, which is really awesome. And it had a bunch of, let me see if I can find one. There were a bunch of really pretty white flowers on it. Oh, here's one. Here's a couple. So yeah, you can see that. Just let me see if I can get that in focus. So there's really pretty white flowers on the apricot tree, so it's blooming. Let me move over a little bit. And then as far as this tree, so in one of my last videos, I talked about the fact that this tree had leaves where they were looking really, really bad. And they had kind of this red and wilting look, and we didn't know what it was. So we actually went to an event near us where you got to meet master gardeners and ask them questions and bring in cuttings and say like, what is this, or what's wrong with this? Do you know how I can fix this, that kind of thing. So we were definitely going to that. But we took a cutting of this, and what the woman that we talked to told us was that it was leaf curl. And she said that unfortunately, if we were gonna treat it, you actually treat it before the plant like flowers and before the leaves come out. And she gave us a schedule. She said Thanksgiving, I think she said Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Valentine's Day are kind of the rules of thumb of when people try to treat this, and they treat it with copper fungicide, which we have, but we're too late at this point. And she said the bad news is it does affect how the plant photosynthesizes because the leaves are not as healthy, but it shouldn't affect the fruit. And so we should be, hopefully, cross fingers, okay for this year as far as like fruit production and stuff like that. But we'll definitely make sure to get the copper fungicide on it for next fall and winter. And then she also said that it doesn't spread to apricots. So because these trees are these trees are like basically growing together. They basically holding hands. And so it shouldn't spread to the other tree. And it doesn't look like the other tree has anything like this right now. And so I'm hopeful that it kind of stays that way. But in here, you can also see just little fruits. So that's exciting. Bunch of little peaches. And moving over from the two trees, here's a project that we did last week. This is our grapes, and we built an arch for them. I have some footage of it that I'll put up if it makes sense. But these two grapes were grape plants that came with the house, and they produced a ton of grapes last year, which is really awesome. But they were on this itty bitty arch, and we had to kind of climb under it to get to them and all that kind of stuff. And so we thought it'd be cool to kind of build a bigger pergola or arch or something like that. So we're testing it out with the candle panels just because that's what we have right now. So we put that up here. And then on this side, we planted the grape plant that we moved with. And so it was in a pot before, but it's looking pretty good. You know, both of them are starting to give off leaves. So yeah, they look pretty good. I'm really happy with this. So our whole idea with this is we wanted something that we could kind of walk under. We thought that would be really fun. Maybe put a bench or a seating area in the middle down there. So far, Remy likes it. He likes laying down there. So I think he really is going to love it once we have something that is actual shade, once all the leaves and stuff grow in. I think he's going to love it, and that's going to be one of his favorite spots. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I keep saying that. I can't wait to see what everything looks like in a couple months, but I'm really stoked about this. All right, on to the citrus. So this is a Meyer lemon that we had in a pot that we planted over the fall. It doesn't look great, but it's not dead, so there's still hope. It's just kind of been hanging out there, and so we're gonna start. I think we have actually fertilized it once, so it is on a schedule, but hopefully here this will start looking a lot better. Right next to it we have what we think is a navel orange. We got one surprise navel orange at the end of last year, so we think that's what this is. Andrew did some pruning at the bottom here to take off some branches that we weren't sure were coming off the root ball or not. We just cleaned up the bottom a little bit. He took up some of the leaves or some of the branches that were sticking straight out, like this one. They're called suckers, like water suckers or something like that. And so he took a bunch of those out, and there's still a couple of them. We might trim it some more, we might leave it. This plant looked really bad when we moved here. It was very eaten up, like this, you can see. And there was a bunch of leaves that looked like this too. It was just in really bad shape when we moved in. And so we've been trying to learn how to rehab it. And there were whole sections that, you know, we still need to probably do more pruning on this, but whole sections that were dead. But there are other sections like this. All of this new growth is really promising to me. And so it is coming in with new leaves and new buds and stuff like that. So it's trying. We're going to give it a chance. Next to that, we have our cutie tree. What is this called? Clementine. I always call it a cutie tree. So not much to report on this, but it did pretty well as far as fruit. They were small, but they taste good. And it is also putting out a bunch of new leaves too. So I think actually now is the time that we're supposed to fertilize all of these. So I'll have to look and see. One thing that I worked on last week was getting all the weeds out of the beds. And so I spent a day in between when it was raining and when we had a little bit of sunshine. It took me one day to weed these three, and then I spent one day weeding those two. And so it was a fairly big project. There was a lot of weeds in here, but it looks really good now. And so I feel really good about how we're going into the next season here. These beds are mostly empty. The few things that are doing really well is this garlic that we planted. The garlic is looking really good. Some of it is, some of it is little, like this one here, but some of them are getting pretty thick. And so we have more time on these, but I'm really happy how these did over the winter. We planted snap peas in the fall on all of the trellises, and they didn't do so well just because we got so much rain over the winter. And then once they started to kind of come back alive a little bit, then the rabbits came into the yard, and I'll show you what they've done to them. Okay, so here's a good patch of peas, and some of them, I think because we've been able to successfully keep the rabbits out at this point, some of them have started to put off shoots again, and so that's really promising. You see the little shoots over there. But if you're ever wondering what rabbit damage looks like, they just kind of eat the tops off of everything. And so all these little nubs right here, about a week ago, the whole thing looked like that, and it was just nubs. Let me see if I can find another example. Oh, here's a good example. So yeah, basically whole plants just look like that. So that was the rabbits. You can see there. It's just the top is gone. So they ate the best part of it. I mean, I get it. People eat pea shoots and rabbits do too. So they ate the good part. Here are carrots. I thinned these out a couple weeks before the rabbits got in. It was probably a month ago now. And so you can see here, there's little stalks that the rabbits just came by and mowed this whole thing. Lately, we've been able to get more growth on them. So these carrots are still alive. I'm really happy about that. But you can see, they're just, they were all, this entire row looked like that. And so I'm happy that these plants are recovering at least a little bit. And we might possibly get some carrots still. So Andrew was just here and he was, sawing these little logs in the background. One other thing that we're doing is we're starting to work on this kind of like garden belt loop that we have, all this space back behind me here. We are going to kind of line out some meandering paths and things like that, or meandering beds in the back there, and we're going to use these as liners to just kind of help us know where the beds are and where our pathways are. I think it's going to look really cool. It was Andrew's idea to do that, and so we're really excited for that. We're wanting the back to have a lot of perennials, be kind of like very mini food foresty type stuff. And well, there goes Remy. And off. That's not for you. Hi. You have a whole bowl of water. You don't need to drink that. What was I saying? Oh, hi, buddy. Hi. Okay, so we have a guest. Here he is. Let's see if you can see him. Hey, buddy. Yes. Hi. Okay, watch out. What was I saying? Oh yeah, we're gonna turn the whole back into kind of like meandering paths. We want a lot of perennials. Andrew really wants to have a food forest someday. And so this is just kind of like our very small testing ground for that. Is getting as many perennial plants as we can. We have our berry bushes back here. We have like blueberries and stuff like that. We plan to get raspberries at some point. And in the meantime, since we don't have a lot of stuff back here right now, I'm also going to do a few annuals just to fill the space. So I'll probably do some sunflowers back here, probably put some more tomato trellises up, just so that we can use the space once the garden beds are all full. But we're really excited about that. That's one of those projects that I think in probably 2 or 3 years, it's going to be really, really pretty. And right now we're just slowly testing it out and slowly planning it out. So yeah, I think that is everything we've been working on for the most part. I mean, it's been a lot of like pulling weeds, moving mulch, that kind of thing, taking care of the seedlings. It's been a lot of that kind of stuff. But more maintenance things. It's going to get really exciting here in a couple weeks. But for right now, it's just getting ready. And it's been so exciting. I'm not good at waiting. I'm not a very patient person. Gardening definitely helps me with developing the virtue of patience. Um, but it's been really exciting to just kind of get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready for it. And so I can't wait. I wish I could fully describe how juiced I am for this. But yeah, I can't wait for us to have this new garden in. I can't wait till stuff really still starts to fill out here in this new garden. This will be our first like real garden. We technically had one last year at this house, but this will be our first like real garden here, and it feels like that. And so I'm so excited, and I hope you are too. So thank you for touring my garden with me today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.